you will never be able to perfectly flatten every hair on your head. And no, it is not because you are doing something wrong. It is because the universe will not allow it. This strange idea is connected to something mathematicians call the hairy ball theorem. The name sounds like a joke, but the truth hidden behind it has the power to completely change the way you see the world. In 1912, the Dutch mathematician L.E.J. Brouwer discovered a remarkable mathematical fact. Imagine a perfectly spherical ball covered in hair. No matter how carefully you try to comb every strand flat, there will always be at least one point where the hairs stick up, swirl around, or form a vortex. It is mathematically impossible to make every hair lie flat at the same time. What makes this so fascinating is that it is not really about hair at all. The theorem reveals a deep truth about the geometry of spheres. Whenever a continuous field exists on the surface of a sphere, there must be at least one singular point where the field breaks down, vanishes, or becomes impossible to define smoothly. At first, this might sound like an obscure mathematical curiosity. It is not. The hairy ball theorem tells us that at any given moment, there must be at least one point on Earth where the horizontal wind speed is exactly zero. In meteorology, the eye of a hurricane provides one of the most dramatic examples of this phenomenon. No matter how violently the winds rotate around it, there is always a special region where the structure of the flow changes fundamentally. Even more astonishing is the fact that this principle applies to any continuous flow that exists on a spherical surface. Whether we are talking about atmospheric currents, ocean circulation, magnetic fields, or countless other natural systems, the theorem insists that a singular point can never be completely eliminated. In a sense, nature itself is forced to obey this mathematical law. And that strange swirl in your hair? It may seem like a trivial feature of your appearance, but it is also a visible reminder of one of the deepest geometric truths ever discovered. The story becomes even more intriguing when mathematics collides with modern technology. Imagine a team of engineers spending years and millions of dollars developing an advanced virtual reality flight simulator. Their goal is to create the most realistic flying experience ever built. Everything appears to work perfectly until a mysterious problem emerges. Whenever the virtual aircraft reaches certain orientations, the image begins to shake, distort, and tear apart. The effect looks as though an invisible force is ripping the digital world apart from within. The engineers assume it is a software bug. They rewrite hundreds of thousands of lines of code. They bring in new programming teams. They deploy increasingly sophisticated debugging tools and artificial intelligence systems. Yet the problem refuses to disappear. Then a young mathematics graduate arrives and offers an unexpected explanation. "This is not a bug," he says. "It is a law of the universe." The room falls silent. He explains that to allow an aircraft to move freely through three-dimensional space, the system must continuously assign an orientation to every possible direction of motion. In mathematical terms, this is equivalent to defining a continuous tangent vector field on a sphere. And according to the hairy ball theorem, such a field must always contain at least one singular point. No matter how elegant the algorithm becomes, there will always be certain orientations where the system encounters unavoidable ambiguity, instability, or error. The limitation is not technological. It is mathematical. Just as no engineer can build a perpetual motion machine that violates the conservation of energy, no programmer can escape the topological constraints imposed by the hairy ball theorem. This reveals a profound lesson. Some problems remain unsolved, not because our technology is insufficient, but because the fundamental rules of the universe make them impossible to solve. The hairy ball theorem reminds us that there are limits woven directly into the fabric of reality itself. To understand just how far-reaching this theorem is, we need to shift our attention from mathematics to the natural world. Have you ever wondered why the center of a hurricane is strangely calm? At first glance, it seems counterintuitive. Around the storm, powerful winds can rotate at incredible speeds, tearing apart buildings and reshaping entire coastlines. Yet at the very center lies the eye of the storm, a region that is often remarkably quiet and stable. Why should such a calm zone exist in the middle of such chaos? The answer is not merely a matter of weather. It is deeply connected to geometry. Because Earth is approximately spherical, the atmosphere forms a continuous flow over a curved surface. According to the hairy ball theorem, any continuous vector field on a sphere must contain at least one point where the field vanishes or becomes singular. In simple terms, if the winds are flowing continuously around the planet, there must be locations where the system cannot maintain motion in every direction at once. Somewhere, the flow must slow down, break apart, or reach a point of zero velocity. Meteorologists have long observed that large-scale atmospheric circulation naturally produces regions of relative calm. High-pressure systems, subtropical ridges, and certain windless zones all emerge from the complex dynamics of Earth's atmosphere. While weather itself is governed by many physical processes, the hairy ball theorem provides a powerful mathematical insight into why perfectly smooth global wind patterns are impossible. The theorem appears in places we rarely think to look. Consider the hair on your own head. Why does almost everyone have a hair whorl somewhere near the crown? Why does that swirl remain even when you try to comb your hair in different directions? Your scalp is not a perfect sphere, but it is close enough to illustrate the principle. Hair grows outward in specific directions, creating something that resembles a vector field spread across a curved surface. According to the theorem, at least one singular point must exist. The result is a swirl, a whorl, or a region where the orientation of the hairs changes dramatically. Some people have 2 whorls, others have 3. This does not contradict the theorem at all. The theorem only requires the existence of at least one singularity. More complex growth patterns can easily create multiple singular points. In other words, your hair is quietly demonstrating a topological law every single day. But the reach of the hairy ball theorem extends far beyond weather and biology. In modern robotics, engineers frequently encounter challenges that echo the same mathematical constraint. When designing spherical robots or systems that must sense and navigate in every direction, they often discover that certain configurations inevitably produce blind spots, unstable orientations, or regions where control becomes more difficult. At first, these limitations may appear to be design flaws. Eventually, many engineers realize that they are confronting a deeper reality. The problem is not the machine. The problem is the mathematics. Rather than fighting these unavoidable singularities, designers often learn to work around them. Less critical components can be placed near problematic regions, while important sensing and control systems are positioned where performance remains stable. In this way, understanding the theorem allows engineers to transform a limitation into an advantage. The same pattern appears again and again throughout science. What begins as an abstract mathematical statement about a hairy sphere turns out to influence meteorology, computer graphics, navigation systems, robotics, and many other fields. This is one of the reasons mathematics is so extraordinary. A theorem developed from pure reasoning can unexpectedly reveal hidden structures governing the real world. The hairy ball theorem is not merely a fact about geometry. It is a reminder that reality itself possesses a deep mathematical architecture. And once you begin to notice it, you start seeing traces of that architecture everywhere. The next time you look at a satellite image of a hurricane, notice the eye at its center. The next time you stand in front of a mirror and see the swirl in your hair, pause for a moment. What appears ordinary may actually be evidence of a profound universal law operating silently beneath the surface. That realization leads us to an even deeper question. If mathematics can predict the existence of whirlpools in hair, calm zones in storms, and unavoidable singularities in engineering systems, what else might it reveal about the hidden structure of the universe? For more than a century, scientists have continued to explore questions like these. And the deeper they look, the more they discover that mathematics is not merely a tool for describing reality. In many ways, it seems woven into reality itself. More than a century after Brouwer proved the hairy ball theorem, its message remains as powerful as ever. The theorem tells us that some imperfections are not mistakes. They are necessities. The swirl in your hair, the eye of a hurricane, and countless patterns throughout nature all arise from the same underlying mathematical law. We often believe that every problem can be solved with better technology or greater intelligence. But the hairy ball theorem reminds us that some limits are woven into the very fabric of reality. The universe does not permit a perfectly combed hairy sphere. And perhaps that is the deeper lesson. Perfection is not the absence of imperfections. Sometimes imperfections are part of the design. The next time you notice the swirl on your head or see the eye of a storm on a weather map, remember that you are witnessing mathematics in action. A simple theorem, a profound truth, and a reminder that the hidden rules of the universe are closer than we think.